A shocking revelation from Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Green over the weekend.
She put out this video announcing she would be resigning from the House as of January. She gave a grim prediction for the Republican Party. Take a listen.
Standing up for American women who were raped at 14 years old, trafficked and used by rich, powerful men should not result in me being called a traitor and threatened by the President of the United States, whom I fought for. Republicans will likely lose the midterms and in turn be expected to defend the president against impeachment after he hatefully dumped tens of millions of dollars against me and tried to destroy me. It's all so absurd and completely unserious. I refuse to be a battered wife, hoping it all goes away and gets better. I'll be resigning from office with my last day being January 5th, 2026.
Now, that announcement comes after MTG went toe-to-toe with Trump on several occasions, recently speaking out against the administration and her fellow Republicans in Congress during the government shutdown, and as one of the few Republican signatories on the Epstein files discharge petition. Following her announcement, ABC's Rachel Scott reported on X that Trump called her resignation, quote, "great news for the country." Scott continued, "I asked if she gave him any heads up. Nah, it doesn't matter, you know, but I think it's great. I think she should be happy," Trump said. Fellow Republican and MTG ally Thomas Massie responded to that in his own post, writing simply, "No, this is not great news for our country." And even some on the left lamented Green's decision to resign. The Young Turks' Cenk Uygur wrote on X, "I would have never imagined saying this, but don't go, stay and fight. Even though we still disagree on so many things, you are one of the few honest people in Congress. Stay and fight."
But some of her frequent targets in Congress weren't exactly sorry to see Green go. New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez reacted on Instagram, saying in a story, quote, "She's carefully timing her departure just 1 to 2 days after her pension kicks in and after making millions of dollars in insider trading stocks for weapons manufacturers and others while in office." AOC continued, quote, "She is saying a lot, but her actions have not backed up the rhetoric. For all her talk, she's still voting with them to gut health care and advance self-dealing corruption schemes." And Jasmine Crockett, who has publicly clashed with Green on many occasions, has some criticism for the soon-to-be former Congresswoman on CNN. Take a look.
You know what? Honestly, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. You're on the other side of the president for 1 week and you can't take the heat. Imagine what it is to sit in my shoes, to not only be on the opposite side of him, but to have people like her who are constantly fanning the flames of hate. It's just interesting that I don't know if she really fully understood how bad she was making it for other people. And now that they're doing it to her, you know, I just got to say, well, why is it that everyone else is able to stand and you can't?
I don't want to hear Jasmine Crockett complain about people fanning the flames of division after she incorrectly smeared half a dozen people of being Epstein associates and was the wrong Jeffrey Epstein, but we won't get into that story again. I am sorry to see MTG go. I think it is, while I don't always agree with her, in particular on the healthcare stuff, and even maybe on some of the Epstein stuff, although I fully support transparency and disclosing the files, I have maybe less knee-jerk trust in what some of the alleged victims have said. I appreciate her independent spirit. I think it would be better for politics, for Congress, for the operations of our government, if more of our elected representatives stood by their convictions and were not afraid to stand up to their leaders on both sides of the party, the Dem establishment on the Dem side and the Republican establishment, which I know people who love Trump hate this, but he is the Republican establishment. He runs the party. And I appreciate, and it should be fine to disagree without being branded a traitor and run out of the party. That said, if she has lost, politics is not a hobby. This is a very important work. And if she has lost the stomach for the fight, then she should resign. And I'll let you say your piece and then I'll give some more ideas about it.
Like I on the same page as you, I'm glad that she is speaking out for what she thinks is right. A lot of the issues that she's been speaking out against, I agree with. Like, as somebody who wasn't so interested in continuing to have this dialogue about the Epstein files outside of it becoming a circus, I started to wonder what people were hiding because of the attempt to try to condemn anybody who was going along with Massie to try to get this pushed forward. And when she became one of those people, I was like, okay, that's interesting. As well as the Democrats in Congress, I don't think that the government should have shut down, but I do think that healthcare cannot be pushed to the back burner, and the costs are rising and our system is broken, but doing nothing about it wasn't a solution. So there's a lot of things that Marjorie Taylor Green was saying recently that I think are valid, and just thinking about those America First people that have real America problems. But at the same time, I think that Marjorie Taylor Green is framing herself as a victim right now when she certainly helped build this environment. She talked a lot about herself on The View about how she contributed to what she called, quote, toxic politics. And so she understands some of the dialogue, even with Jasmine Crockett or other people, that she's contributed to not being the nicest person or not being the most amicable person across the aisle. And so when she's bashing President Trump for doing what she has supported and championed to other people, now that he's doing it to her, that kind of seems odd that she's going into the whole battered wife thing and really wants to lean into the victim when she's actually not an abused woman. She's just arguing with somebody who she's propelled to behave like this for years.
And I do think that comment, the battered wife comment, was a little revealing. I think she really cared for President Trump and supported his agenda and perceived him as a close, more than just a political ally, but friend. I don't know. I'm not privy to her, but reading this, I think she feels very personally betrayed. I think she's making it very personal, I'm not accusing her of doing that, but it feels personal to her when it's about politics and business and what's best for the country. I think she feels very personally about it. She used the language of like a breakup, a romantic relationship. I think she's hurt, and with her feelings so intermingled in where she's at politically, maybe then the best thing to do is to not be involved in Congress. If you know what I mean, if you're mixing the two things together, it's clearly not a good place for her. And kudos to her. I think she's recognizing that this participation in what's going on is not healthy for her, and she's deciding to get out. So fair enough. That's perfectly fine. Politics is not forever. I certainly wouldn't want to run for Congress, and we argue every day. Arguing with people is not pleasant always, and you don't want to. If you don't want to do it anymore, you don't want to do it anymore.
And then the biggest question for me is, what are the next steps? So initially, I was like, well, she's in an election year in 2026, so obviously her intention is to make sure that if President Trump is not that name that gets you over the finish line, to distance yourself a bit from the policies that maybe are not working to many that are also the voters. Now that she's not even running, I don't see a book or anything. I know that wouldn't come out already. I'm just kind of like, what's the end game? And you and I were talking in the break, like, where's she going with this? Because now I'm just like kind of flabbergasted about what's going on, like why she's so personal about this.
She might have seen internal polling that showed that without Trump's support or with Trump being against her or being in favor of her primary challenge, that she was going to get killed in her district. I have no idea that if that's the case. Maybe she would, like Massey,
ready to quit rather than get fired.
Yeah, well, there's some dignity in that you want me gone. You said you don't want me anymore to be on your team. Then fine, I'm gone. So I have no problem with her doing it, and I hope she remains. I think she's an interesting voice, and I hope she remains outspoken on the issues she thinks are important and can contribute to something constructive in our politics, just not from within Congress.
We'll see.
Next up, the newest Ken Burns documentary on the American Revolution was released last week. Met with some high praise, but not from conservatives. They say Burns is trying to rewrite history, make it woke. Don't go anywhere.